Hello, can you hear me? Xin chào quý vị. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Well, welcome to this very interesting, very inspiring, I promise, keynote with Mrs. Thuy Tu, which I will soon introduce briefly. So actually, I'm Sebastian Goethals, architect and urban planner, director of CityLinks from Belgium. I came from Belgium for this conference, and actually I'm going to moderate this keynote of Mrs. Thuy Tu, so I give you a short introduction of her. So Mrs. Thuy Tu is actually, has quite a unique profile. She's a transport engineer, transport planner, but she's also a communicator. She has actually a quite a holistic approach of transport and mobility, but also urban planning. And she's a communicator. She's really working on the human side of planning and design of cities. So actually today she will actually make us travel from here to all around the world. Mrs. Thuy Tu is actually Vietnamese-American. She's based in Portland. She has been teaching for some time now at Portland State University. She's actually animating a lot of projects and workshops, and she can share with you a lot of experience around the world. She has different perspectives, so she will start now her keynote, so reimagine resilience for the future of our cities. So I ask you to applaud Mrs. Thuy Tu and to welcome her. Mrs. Thuy Tu, the floor is yours. Thank you.
How is everyone doing in this afternoon, day 2 of the conference, after lunch? Are you ready for this? It'll be fun. Can you switch over, please? Good afternoon. Thank you for this honor and this privilege of being here. This afternoon, for those who are joining here in person, on live stream, good evening, good morning, and good day. So today we'll be talking, as Sebastian had introduced, reimagining resilience for the futures of our cities. Students, really, this is for you. This is for the future. Yes. But first, I'd like to introduce to you the concept of the golden ratio, the nautilus shell of Fibonacci, pictured here. The concept that is near and dear to my heart. For our scientists, mathematicians, and artists out in the world, you recognize that the golden ratio in architecture and city planning is found in nature, in harmony with the world, in life, in music, in art, and it is the balance, the true balance of our life and our universe. The golden ratio is truly resilience. But first, I want to ask you a few questions. What is resilience? What does resilience mean to you? So as we share this time together within the next 45 minutes, 50 minutes, I'd like to think about these questions because resilience means different things to different people and so many different avenues of life. So think about resilience and how we would like to work within our space and what does it really mean to you? But first, I'd like for you to imagine your younger self as we time travel back into the 80s in Hong Kong when I was 3 years old. And as a child then, I had a sense of wonder, but now I return to Vietnam as an adult with a renewed sense of wonder. And please indulge me as we time travel together. The next question I want to ask you is, what does resilience mean to your community? Like I said, like Sebastian had said, we'll take a trip around the world, And we will hit select cities in each continent of the world, sort of a panoramic view of the world. And if you please indulge me, we will look at plans for the future, or maybe even a formula for resilience, so we can build actions and pathways towards resilience in technology and design. We will look at our social ecological systems, and we will discuss opportunities and challenges in the areas of transportation, energy, housing, health, agriculture, urban forest management, and sustainability. From there, we will draw technical expertise, policy development, and community advocacy. We will look at the increased urbanization globally, as well as the quality of life in our environment, as well as how we live and exist in society. We will talk about the urban versus rural access to problems for social service and digital technology. And from there, we'll provide some solutions or questions for you to ponder when you return to your respective countries. And those solutions may or may not encompass such things as digital technology innovation, human-centered and universal design, smart living, smart cities, and smart mobility. For this presentation, it's based on interviews with colleagues and friends around the world who are living and working in these respective cities. So with that, we have traveled to Portland, Oregon. And from Portland, Oregon is where I had come from. And I want to show you what we had done within the city over the last few years, and especially during the pandemic, and how we fared during the pandemic. And within that time, we were influential in looking at urban forest management. We were planting trees in the cities. We were having a really hard time in 2020 because we had so many forest fires. And so that was affecting our air quality. It was affecting our livelihood. So our Bureau of Transportation had planted more trees, and we started to reclaim our streets again. So we rebuilt park plazas for restaurants during the pandemic, and so that people can be together. So that was what we did in Portland. And I want to share with you what Portland was like in the 50s. So this was our city in the 50s. It was very car-centric. The city was built, and it was very proud of the technology with vehicles. So if you can see it, back in the 50s, there were a lot of highways and roads, and this is what our waterfront looked like in the 50s. But we recognized that it didn't have to be very car-centric. We needed something more than just for vehicles. We needed a space for people. And what we did in the 50s and 60s was really take back our streets, and we did what was like placemaking. So we transferred what was the waterfront harbor avenue, took away the cars and the lanes, and then we put through pathways. But if you can see from the postcard, it says, "Hello there from Portland." So we were very proud of a car-centric city, but now we're more proud of being a very active city with a lot of bikeways and thoroughfares, so people can be together, and a lot of great restaurants and a lot of different types of parks where people can exist together. So this is where I had come from to be with you. So from Portland, I'd like to share the future, what our plans for the future is for this city. We're building our infrastructure for active transportation. We've built 2 major bridges within Portland that's only for active transportation, for transit, and no cars. So we really promote what is healthy within the city. And we are building for resilience, not just our climate change and everyday mitigations, but really for what is like the next cascadia of resilience for the next big earthquake. So we're looking at different modes. We're planning for our infrastructure. We're looking at different types for autonomous vehicles. So we're building out that infrastructure, and we're very proud of it. So from Portland, I'm gonna indulge me. We're going to travel to, Mexico. We're going to go to Mexico, but it's going to take a little time here. We might have to pass a few time zones, but here we go. We're going to take our trip to Mexico. This is a city. It's a huge, giant laboratory for urban morphology. Almost 22 million residents living in neighborhoods in a wide spectrum of plans of very robust public transportation infrastructure. As you can see, the geometric plans dominate throughout the city, with public amenities and green space combined with mega blocks. In recent years, Mexico federal government have invested substantially in housing for the underserved communities and rehousing for over 2 million families in massive developments. As you can see, it's a big, 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 major mega city. And there's a real need for a new approach for urban development, one that empowers communities for place and people. But Mexico City, as the city in itself, experienced quite a bit of interesting urban planning over the years. It used to be a lake. The altitude is quite high, so what they've done was really drain the lake to prevent flooding as the city expands. And my colleague shared with me as we did some research early this morning, the altitude is almost 2,000, 2,400 meters. So Mexico can do this. New Mexico can work within and build a city from a lake, which is fascinating. But Mexico also experiences quite a bit of earthquakes. And so what they've done within the city was to set up an alert system in which you can tell where the epicenter is, and it really goes out and communicates with each other that there's a big hazard that's happening. So that's one of the technology within this city that's been very innovative over the years. So from Mexico, we're going to travel to South America. We're going to go to Santiago, Chile. Santiago, Chile, as researched by 100 Resilient Cities, which was pioneered by the Rockefeller Foundation to produce a white paper as a result of their resilient strategy development for Santiago, Chile. The report aims to synthesize best practice cases which have created through firsthand access to metropolitan governance models in the urban mobility settings. And it's worked in public security, risk management, environmental control, and economic development. Santiago itself has experienced quite a bit of hazards over the years. As you know, back many years ago, it's experienced one of the biggest earthquakes in the world, one of the first biggest earthquakes in the world, and that was like a 1.0. And as we can see here, it sits within the Earth's crust of a very active plate line, and it falls within the line of fire. So the city itself, as a developing country, has to work as very hard to become as resilient as possible. So from Santiago, we're going to travel to Africa. We're going to go to a place called Matopo, Mozambique. And as a child growing up in America, I was not aware of how metropolis Africa could be. I really thought it was a safari out there. But as you can see here, we will travel to Mozambique. And I've had some friends who've lived here and have worked for USAID, and they've done quite a bit of humanitarian work in Mozambique. And Mozambique experiences quite a bit of hardship in their healthcare system. It's very high in HIV. They also have concerns with food security. And as you can see, they live in very close quarters with each other. And Mozambique is one of the experience of a lot of interesting cities around the world. From Mozambique, we're going to travel. This is a resilience plan for Mozambique. So the call for action, identifying who, what, where, when, and how, which is really important. And I'll reference this at the end of the presentation so you could take a look at this for further research. From Mozambique, we're going to travel to Portugal. We're going to go to Europe. And Portugal is one of the oldest cities which has integrated successfully with modern technology. And as a result of these major crises in the past, Portugal rose as one of the most environmentally friendly city in the world. It's very exemplary in mobility and mobility as a service. Sustainability and mobility is really its flagship. So that is Portugal. We will then travel. Here's the technology of Portugal with modern and new. That's what Portugal looks like at night. And this is very exemplary of what Portugal is like. But from Portugal, we're then going to go to another part of our world in the Middle East, in Yerevan, Armenia, which is one of the first Christ cities in the country, and the people there are very proud of their culture and religion. The government is continuing to study and identify the main factors affecting efficiency and safety in urban public transportation and its impacts on roadway traffic on the environment system. So with there, they identified different quality of transports and transportation, as well as how people live and exist with each other in digital transformation. But this is what Yerevan looks like. The population is quite high for a city. It's a very old city. The people there, as I said, are very proud. You can see this is how they live. They live in these homes and still, again, very close quarters to each other. So as you can see, there's also a food security and a healthcare system that is still developing within the country in itself. From Armenia, we're going to travel to Asia, to Beijing. As a major megacity, decentralization and curb population is quite important, and those are the two major goals for this megacity in China since 2014. For Beijing, municipal government has promoted a new center in Tuzhong, a suburban district east of the city. The policy followed mass infrastructure and real estate development, which has caused more commute. But in relation to resilience and technology, this megacity has a goal to build a smart and intelligent city. Due to the pandemic lockdown, the traditional commute hours have really changed and replaced by more flexible hours. A lot of us have had to adapt to these changes over the last 2 years. And the traditional commute hours have changed. Public investment in digital infrastructure has increased rapidly in the beginning of COVID-19, and more so in digital infrastructure include base stations for 5G communications and microgrids and data centers and smart EV charger systems. So you can see how it's changed over the years, and it really has to keep up with the time and having people exist one another. So these are the new infrastructures in Beijing to ensure electricity, internet, telecommunications, which are really key issues for any city in terms of resilience and building that resilience. So we're going to stay in Asia for a bit. So from Beijing, we're going to go to, can you guess where we may go to? We're going to go to a country that is honored as the gold standards for resilience due to its many and massive earthquakes, Tokyo, Japan. Japan is working towards building a holistic resilience, which is Tokyo's 2050 strategy. And over the years, Tokyo had put together a paper called a Zero Emissions Tokyo Strategy, which works on emphasis on greenhouse gas emissions, equitable sustainability, and building a more holistic resilience against all hazards, because they've experienced quite a bit. And from where I'm at in Portland, Oregon, we are expecting a massive earthquake, so we learn a lot from Tokyo. The data indicates that Tokyo's ambitions are built on track record of global leadership in resource, efficient water systems, transit networks, and other critical infrastructure. So from Tokyo, last but not least, we're going to go to the Oceania. We're going to travel to, oops, I forgot. That's what Tokyo looks like at night and daytime. And then we're going to go to the Oceania. We're going to go to Auckland, New Zealand. In this 21st century, the multiple challenges of climate, demographics, and technology have required the state to once again take lead with investments with the Green New Deal. Are you familiar with the Green New Deal? No? We'll talk more about it. And that really is to provide public transport, solar energy, affordable housing, and a universal basic service to its community. New Zealand has been a social laboratory for the past, and once again to build a more inclusive and sustainable society, really looking at housing and transportation and land use together in dual. So their central government has been working together really to invest in light rail, which is kind of a commuter rail, to get the pressures off of roads and encourage more denser housing. So with this, oops. Here is Auckland, and this is what it looks like at night. So from here, we are going to travel to our home base. Can you guess where that may be? I'm going to go straight to the university. We're going straight to UEH. Right where we are. So by conclusion, I want us to think about a couple of questions, these two major questions. We're going to talk about this in our discussion. So what does technology mean socially to us? How does technology enable you as citizens of your country to contribute solutions to social problems? We're going to answer these together, but as a recap, we're going to talk, as I said, our concerns is economic resilience, community resilience, human resilience, environmental resilience, infrastructure, and also food resilience. And as I talked about earlier at the beginning, I'd like us to think about our solutions, our digital technology innovation, human-centered and universal design, smart living, smart cities, and smart mobility. But for me, I'll share with you what my criteria are. But for you, it might be something different. So for me, the criteria is to make decisions with kindness and compassion. Sometimes they don't teach you that in school. So sometimes I have to remind myself to do that. And also the ability to adapt to new ideas and to be creative, to harmonize these new ideas with values, principles, and perspectives, and to harmonize the experience of change with innovation and technology. I would like each of you to walk away from the talk with inspiration for our future generations. With that, thank you very much. This has been an honor. Not bad. So that was good timing too.
Yes, perfect timing. I didn't have to too much.
No, but I needed that. That was great.
So I think we're gonna sit there. We'll just give a word.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
I give a little word and then we can go. So thanks a lot, Thuy Tu, for this very inspiring presentation. And actually, it shows also, you see from different contexts around the world, how cities, well, increasingly are our environment for more and more people. And we are at this, this shift to technological evolution. And cities are a bit in the middle of it. So we really want to know about your opinion, your questions about how you perceive technology in relation with the human being. We talk more and more about smart cities, but actually we are still human beings. And that requires a lot of thinking about what kind of urban environment we will have in the future. So resilience to climate events, to economic shocks, to earthquakes, so many kinds of shocks is actually more and more one of our concerns, and many specialists think that technology could be an answer to that. But moreover, smart cities are made of people, and the people are you. So actually, it would be interesting to hear from you about your perspective on technology as a human being, and how you perceive a smart city as a community of smart and healthy people. So now we're gonna sit there and hopefully listen to your ideas, your opinions, and your inspiration to have a little debate together with Mrs. Thuy Tu. Thank you very much. Thank you, thanks a lot. So I'm looking for questions. Anyone has something to share with this beautiful presentation? Yes, please, Elena.
No, thank you so much for making us traveling not only in space but also in our mind. So let us give us the time to think, which I think was also your purpose. I was thinking also about, so in the time you gave me, the gift of time, I was thinking about how, in fact, to be resilient, is it so important to be technological? Because, in fact, during the history of cities and of humankind, we were supposed to be more and more resilient. So it's something, I was thinking about this, is trying to recover a sort of instinct and of place-related way of living that we have been missing during the last period. So we can recover a lot looking at how past societies and past cities were facing some events. In my opinion, we are ended the future and the past. I don't know if it was clear. In my opinion, being resilient is not only looking at new technologies, but really looking at the past and learn again how cities were more adaptable, perhaps.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. I would love to have a conversation about this because I think this is very important so we can have this conversation together. I think the pandemic has really taught us so much about our own resilience. So think about how we had fared through the last 2 years and how we had to adapt to changes and how we really had to go inward within ourselves to build the network and build something that's very important. But then within ourselves, then we look out and look at designs for the city. So for the example, what I had put out for Portland, the 15-minute cities, and also how did Portland fare in the event of the pandemic? Really, we reclaimed our streets. We had street fairs, we had street music, we brought us together. We humanized the world where we didn't quite do that so much because we had other things that were also competing. But I love the question when you talked about our history, and I think it's very important to look at where we came from. Look at our past and learn from that past, and look at where we are currently, and how did we fare 50 years ago, 100 years ago to where we are now, and then that's how we plan for the future.
Thank you, Thuy Tu. It's very insightful, actually. Yeah, well, technology is seen as a progress, but actually it's, when we think about it, it's just a tool. Well, we need technologies to communicate, or we could communicate without technologies, but now actually we have better tools to communicate, or for mobility, to just go from a point 1 to a point B. And actually the question is maybe a bit about how to make the best use of the available technology to improve our lives and also improve the sustainability of our planet, and not just use technology to just add another layer of struggle because we just want more because we can have more. And so resilience is actually definitely not something new. And yeah, probably, well, in the last centuries, life was really less comfortable. And access to food, to water, to energy was not something obvious. And somehow now we have progressed with that. And probably we have better tools than before, but we don't have to be blind because we have more tools. We have to keep looking at the sustainability of our civilization to make the best use of it. So yeah, maybe, I don't know if anyone in the room would like to share some experience, maybe on Ho Chi Minh City or in Vietnam, because actually, well, everyone can see how fast the city is developing, but it's also based on the existing or past urban environment. So yes, please, Mr. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Thuy. I'm currently the associate professor in traffic, transport, and mobility of Vietnamese German University, and today I'm glad to be here to join the. I'm very glad to enjoy the very nice and inspiring lecture from Mr. Thuy. And I like to share one thing first, and then I will give one question to the speaker. Now, because I'm from the mobility field, so I like to share how we can make use of technology for sustainable mobility as an important part of sustainable city, right? As you know, that's because of the fourth industrialization revolution, we call the 4IR, thanks to the advancement of technology, telecommunication, and advanced technology. It has been changing all the sector, from production to traffic to transport to logistics to service. Everything has been changing under the fourth industrial revolution, right? So in terms of traffic and transport, the mobility landscape has been changed because of the four trends. The first trend is electrification of the vehicle. So so far we use internal combustion engine vehicle. But our global is running out of the gasoline, diesel, and also it's very polluted. It's causing the global change, the climate change, global temperature warming. But with electrification, we can reduce CO2 emission and also the air pollutant in the city, which is very harmful to human health, like the PM 2.5, PM 10. With electrification, we can reduce the dependency on fossil fuel, right? And we can avoid the situation of energy security. However, it's not enough. The second trend is, I can say that autonomous driving. So in the near future, we don't need to drive. We just sit on the vehicle and can read a book, can even in the video teleconference with people from USA, from other part of the world, right? The vehicle drives from the origin to the destination in a safe manner, comfortable manner. Yeah, that's because of the technology change. The third trends is about the share mobility. We don't need to spend billion of Vietnam dong to buy a passenger car, very expensive. And also we are worried about the gasoline prices rising because of the war between Russia and Ukraine, right? We just, with the technology, we can just one click, we can get a car, the car will come and pick it up and send it to the destination where we want to go. Or after getting off the bus or getting off the train, we can call motorbike taxi to bring us from the station to the final destination. Or we can rent a bicycle. This is how to reduce the economics burden on the people, especially young people. And the fourth trend is about the connected vehicle or vehicle connectivity. That means with the technology, the vehicle becomes smart like a human. It can talk to each other. It can talk to infrastructure. So vehicle can avoid the crash, can avoid the fatal accident. So that's his technology. But all of this technology has been changing the landscape of traffic and mobility in both developed countries like in USA, in Italy, in France, and also in developing country. And developing country as now accelerating and catching up with the developed country. As you know, the VinFast is producing the electric car, exporting back to the US market. So what we have done is wonderful things. I like to tell this story because to inspire all students here, we should think out of the box, when we are at school, at university. And also it opened the new horizon of the job and the career development. But all of this technology is human-centric, it's software-based and electrics, right? But that's not enough. Those technologies will not be accepted by people, because if we don't have the well city planning, if we don't plan for the charging station, so electric vehicle cannot run, If we don't have a good infrastructure, then we're still suffering from the flooding and so on and so forth. So that I like to share is based on understanding of technology, so we know where we can increase the resilience, we can increase the smartness, but most important is the human thinking and in the planning and the policy making. That is the most important. So regarding Ho Chi Minh City, my question to you is, what are the risks that increase or contribute to the, endanger the resilience of Ho Chi Minh City? What do you think? So that is one sharing and one question to the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. I will answer the question very quickly because I know we're going to be at time pretty soon. But I want us to be cognizant of who and why we're designing. As my return back to Ho Chi Minh City, one of the things I realized is this is a very efficient system. It's a little chaotic, but it works. The transportation system works in the city. And you have laid out some beautiful plans, and I think those are very true to everywhere around the world. But I think we have to be very cognizant to make sure that we are always 2 or 3 steps before technology. We have to be ahead of technology, so we have to take advantage of it. But we need to plan for it, and we need to be aware of it, and also plan for the better good, so that we can take advantage of it before it takes advantage of us.
Thanks a lot, Thuy Tu. I think, we actually at the end of this session, but actually we will continue on urban mobility because we have a next special session in a few minutes on that precise topic. So if you want to exchange more ideas about mobility, welcome to join. Well, thank you. Thanks a lot, Mrs. Thuy Tu, for this very inspiring presentation. I think the debate can continue later today, also outside of this room. Thank you very much for your attention and for coming. Thank you.